here, which is interesting because the other thing goes. Okay. Oh, can you still? Are you?
I can still you.
Okay, good. I had a small heart attack there for a second, but everything is working. Everything is working perfectly.
CPR.
And now you should be able to see comments. Let me... Now I can share this. Good. Copy.
All right, from New York City.
Yeah.
Grant.
All right, Pop.
Ready?
Yep.
All right. So am I reading the
All right,
comments
Pop.
off the top?
Ready?
Let me jump in.
Grant. Hey, Stewie.
Let me just close this out.
Hey, Stewie. You gotta look at that.
Nice. Still got it. Hold on.
And now it should just be all of you guys. Okay.
All right.
Let me... one last thing. I'm just going to send this to... Oh, I can't see. 1 second. Okay, good. So you can... Yeah, we got our first comment on stream.
I can't see you now. I just see the ceiling.
Yeah, I just lifted the camera because it's covering a part of... I have a two-screen setup.
Oh, okay.
So I just have it covering... I just have it...
All right, let's go.
I need to send this. 1 second. Where is...
Are we live on YouTube right now?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Everything is working. I just need
Okay.
to send this link so that it can be tested, but it looks
6,
like everything is working.
4, 3, 2, 1. Live from New York
All right.
City.
All right. Thanks, Bob. Thanks.
Up in there,
All right.
Stuart.
Let me open up. Hey,
Okay. All right.
All right, guys.
All right.
All right, welcome to the show, everyone. Let's do some real brief introductions. First of all, this is
Camera's on you.
Training Edge with Dave and
Just don't
Stu.
touch anything.
Today we have a really very, I would say, well-known guest in the field of bodybuilding. We have Bill Grant with us, as you guys can see.
Big Bill.
Say hi, Bill.
but live from New York, it's Bill Grant.
So, Bill, I've been reading a little bit about your background. You started bodybuilding at the age of 9.
Yeah.
Wow. So you go against all conventional wisdom as to whether or not to lift weights at a young age. But we'll talk about that a little bit. And as you know, Bill is known as the Man of Steel. Actually got his Mr. World title in 1972.
74.
And
Mr.
74,
America,
Mr. World and
74.
Mr. International. And I see you've been on TV several times, many different programs. You've run the gamut. So, Stu and I are really happy that you're here and want to talk to you a lot about training techniques and what you've done in your career. And also what you're doing now too, as an older individual, how it is that you're maintaining your health, maintaining your shape. I think that's a really important part of the information we can get across.
And
Stu, how you doing over there in New York City in your quarantine?
I'm just good. I'm good. I'm good.
No work. I had my bands and I worked on those with those. So, but hey, we're gonna get back to Stewie's gym, the Iron and Silk.
Right on. Yeah. Everything is all right.
I'm ready, man.
Yeah, we're ready too. We're ready too.
This is brutal, man. New York, like a ghost town, man.
Yeah.
Can't believe it.
But I got some good questions for you, man. I have actually a question that got sent to me, and everything is going well over here. We're doing all our training inside. I mean, I have the luxury of owning my own training facility. Iron and Silk, so I could go in and train, but I'm choosing to stay home and just train like everyone else. Just using bands, using dumbbells. Bill and I have a very similar background in terms of how we started off in bodybuilding. So it was very, very meager in things to work with. So you had to be very creative. You had to really understand how to train and how to use the things that you had available. But I want to start off right away with a question from Josh. And Josh says, hi, team. Excited to tune in. Would love if Stu and Bill could chat a bit about what they've learned about adapting their training over the years in order to maintain health and longevity. Specifically, how has their training techniques adapted through their younger years to present day? Would love to hear Bill's take on this since he's at a tender age of 19. All right. So Josh is trying to figure out, how do we do what we do? I always say, the key to training, really, it's not the competitive sport of bodybuilding. It's what you gain from the actual training itself, the mental, the psychological, and the physical attributes that help you to keep it up, to move into later years, if that is what the universe is willing, and to thrive within that time frame. Bill could tell you basically, Bill, what is it that you've done now differently than when you were 20?
Well, basically, your body is just like doing a building, making a building. You got to have a basement,
Right.
And if you don't have that, you can't build on it. You got to get that right there, the foundation.
Right.
And then you build on that. And when I started, it wasn't like you didn't have all this information, to work out. So sometimes it was, you had to like hit there and hit there. But also the weirder magazines were. I looked at all the guys, Leroy Colbert, Steve Reeves, Chuck Seitz, all those guys, and Vince Gironda. That was the guy.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I learned a lot from him too. Yeah. From reading.
I just did a basic workout. Basically, when I started at 9, but when I got to 14, I went to the YMCA. And I was real skinny. I really didn't know what I was doing, really. So I was just going through the, what's in the magazines. But I got to the Y, and all the guys looked at me and said, "Hey, you skinny kid, what are you going to do here? You're not going to get anywhere." And nobody wanted to help me. But there was one guy, Randy Coyle. He was about 27 at that time, 25 at that time.
Right.
And so he says, it was really weird, man, because I'm trying to work out. He says, "Hey, kid, I've been watching you in the gym, man. It seems like you're not getting any progress." He says, "First, you got to take those sweats off." I said, "What do you mean?" I had to squat, man. He said, "You got to look at them. You got to look at them. And you can't be in the gym 3, 4, 5 hours. That's not going to get it."
Right.
Started me. Really go. I did squats, dips, chins, and pullovers. Now, you would look at that. Any person would look at that and say, well, what kind of workout is that? What about curls I got to do? All those side laterals.
Right.
That's what I just told you.
Muted.
We lost you there, Bill.
Yeah, you muted.
Oh, my goodness.
There you go. You're back.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
So when he got me going, it worked out really good. I did 20 reps of everything. That was the day of doing volume. I do squats, 20 reps. Right after that, you do pullovers.
Right. Yeah, very, very similar to the way how I started. Very, very similar.
Oh, man, I just squat. I thought I was going to die, man.
Yeah.
And then he had something that was really interesting. He said to get your traps, you do breathing squats, when you do and then shrug your traps.
Yeah.
But I said, how am I going to get my arms big? I mean, what about my chest? All right, but I did it. And then after that, I did dips and chins.
Right.
And he says, that's your into the workout. What? Wait a minute. That's the workout?
Right.
But I can tell you, in 3 months or 4 months, I got about 20 pounds on me.
Right. Yeah, people wouldn't. I don't think people would really believe that, Dave. They think that training today. I think the science behind it, the actual, and we can't say science because they're not enough. Let's say like studies on it. But guys like Bill Grant that's the proof in the pudding. These techniques, these groups of exercises done in a certain way, because it's not just about we all know the same exercises. but how are they being implemented? How are they doing it? These are the things that make a big difference. Now, let me just ask Bill real quick. As you transitioned into a competitive athlete, your training obviously evolved.
And
What were you doing then?
Then we were breaking it up, like chest and back, shoulders and arms, then legs.
Right.
So we started going into it, but we were still doing
Right.
the high reps.
Right.
I don't know why everybody thinks you have to have heavy, 5, 6.
Right.
That's
right.
If you want to be a power lifter or a weightlifter, that's good for you.
Right.
But if you're going to be a bodybuilder, you're not going to build any muscle by 5 reps.
Right.
That's not even a warm up.
Right. Again, I just would like to say, and I know that Dave, you also did quite a bit of bodybuilding as well. When I first started off, my dad, I started training with my dad, Abraham. After that, my mom bought me my first gym membership where I trained at Sheridan Square with Lenny Russell. So actually, one of the first times I saw Bill Grant was I was a young kid, and it was the night of the champions, and you came by. Robbie Robinson was in there training. You had come by. Chris Dickerson was there all the time. I knew Chris very well. Chris was there all the time, and the thing was volume. It was reps. It was going in, pushing blood into the muscle, training at a pace. No cardiovascular machines. There were no bikes, and guys were cut. Guys were cut.
Treadmills. I remember a story one time when everybody went to Mid City Gym.
Right.
So it was a four play up. You got to walk up, and there's Freddie Ortiz, and he's got just a little 50-pound bar.
I knew Freddie well too. Yeah. Lightweight.
How's he gonna get? How did his arms get that big?
Right.
He did about 25 reps. That's how he got his arms. He didn't have to do it for 200 pounds, 135 pounds.
Right.
These guys are getting it wrong.
Right. Could I ask you something, David? I'm sorry to interrupt you one second, Bill.
Yeah, go ahead.
But David, now looking at that, right? We could say, oh, it's the reps, but because now we've developed so much science behind it. We know that on a neuromuscular level, right? That's really what's contributing to a lot of that growth, because the more you practice something, typically the better you get at it if you're practicing it properly. So
for sure. I mean,
that neuromuscular, David. So what would you say about that today?
Yeah, I think you're bringing up a really good point. So, you start lifting at the age of 9 or the age of 12. By that time, your neuromuscular system has already developed. I mean, it pretty much finishes at the age of 3. But we also know that children who start activities young, whether it be 5, 6, 7, Gretzky started skating at 3, we start to develop these patterns, these neuromuscular patterns, and it becomes second nature for the muscle to move in a certain way. So let's just take a squat, for instance. A squat is a compound exercise, but it involves a lot of movement. To do it properly, it involves a lot of specific kinetics or movement. And so if you train your body at a young age to do that correctly, then the type of muscle you will build will be quality muscle.
Correct.
Because you're not shifting all over the place. You're not, kind of off balance. You're doing it properly. The more you do it like that, the more the neuromuscular system patterns, and then it becomes easier. You can lift a little bit more weight. You can do more volume, those kinds of things. I think that's a really important point.
Right.
And also one of the things that you brought up, which is really interesting, is we have so much science right now, right? We've, for decades, we've been studying bodybuilding and strength training and, various ways of getting stronger and better and increasing our edge in terms of performance. But that sometimes makes the water a little murky, right? Because there's so much information. We're being inundated with information. We're like, I don't know. Which way do I turn?
Right.
The fact is, Bill, you're talking about very, very foundational movements here.
Right.
And you're probably, I would assume your workout was probably 20 to 30 minutes. And if you went to someone and said, go in the gym, work out 20 to 30 minutes doing these exercises, they'd look at you like you were nuts.
Right.
But the fact is that these are the exercises that build up that neuromuscular patterning. These are the exercises that you mentioned, Bill, very, very important, that are about volume. So they build up the aerobic sort of the aerobic features or the aerobic characteristics of the muscle, allowing you to do more.
Right.
And you put a little bit of weight on there, the muscle's got to get stronger in order to deal with that force. So if I'm doing 20 pounds 2 weeks ago, I add 5, I'm doing 25. My muscle has to get stronger in the face of that increased force.
Right.
So that's the way we build.
Right.
You guys are talking about real foundational movement that most people would look at and they'd shirk and be like, I need to spend my hour. I need to do my thing. Right.
Most people, I don't think really understand one of the best bodybuilders of all time, Lee Haney, 8-time Mr. Olympia. And Lee would always say, stimulate, don't annihilate the body.
That's great.
And this is like, I mean, man, if you really listen to what that man is saying, and I personally think Lee Haney is, in my book, one of the top 2 best bodybuilders in the history of the sport on all levels, intelligence, because, and that's not to say you don't train hard, because if you looked at Lee, Lee trained intense. But the thing is that you don't need to go in and to rip the body to shreds. That's not going to get you what you want. Training is always going to be challenging and difficult at sometimes, as Bill can tell you. I mean, what I want to ask Bill after this, also after I say this, is, but the idea is that you don't want to break the body down to the point that it can't recover within a logical time frame. Because if you have one great workout and it takes you a whole month to recover, that's not, you can't produce on that. That's not going to work. There has to be enough of a recovery within a certain time frame in order for you to go back in and stimulate that muscle again, so that you can get that growth. And what I want to ask Bill is, now Bill, at the tender age that you are right now, and kicking, I mean, Bill's energy is ridiculous. Bill, the way your training has evolved to this point, would you say you're training with just as much volume, or are you training heavier? What really is your secret to being able to maintain the level that you look? I mean, you look amazing. Amazing.
I train really hard, but not with heavy weights. I do a lot of volume stuff, and it works good. And for recovery, and recovery is very, very, very important. Like back in the day, everybody has a way to recover. I trained 4 days a week. I did Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. If I go after that point, I couldn't recover. Now, Arnold, on the other side, he would do 6 days a day, twice, 3 times, twice a day. Now, I did it one time with him. I lost 5 pounds because I couldn't recover. Okay, now I learned something. I says, okay, that's good for him, but it doesn't work for me.
You. Right.
And I recover on when I go right past 4 days, I can't work. I can't get back again.
Right.
So recovery is really important.
Right.
I mean, but you gotta really mash the muscles. 5 reps is not going to do it.
No.
Not even 8 all the time.
Right.
But if you do 8, like Geronda, we do 8 times 8 an hour. That is a blast. You do 8 reps, 10 seconds, and then you do another 8, and you do that for 8 times.
Right.
And let me tell you, you are pumped. I've been doing it back and forth, using it. Wow. So there's a lot of different things from old school. A lot of guys think you got to get all the weight and weight. You don't have to use a lot of weight to work out and get muscles. We're not going to be.
I'm sorry, but let me ask you: Do you think that that's one of the reasons why you move so well and look the way you do? Do you think that that's one of the main factors that have contributed to your longevity?
Yes, it sure is. Now, at one point in the 80s, I was living in Sweden, and I wanted to get stronger, and I thought it was going to be get me bigger too. I was benching. I was 195. I was benching with 405. I was squatting 405, and I deadlift 500. I thought that was pretty good. Mm-hmm. And I was training with the powerlifters from Sweden, and I would show them the bodybuilding stuff, and then they would show me the powerlifting stuff. It did work. I got stronger. I was using more weights, but you know what? After time, my joints were killing me. My shoulder, my elbows, my back. my knees. Okay. I'm not saying you can't use weight, but you can't do it on a daily,
Right.
days. You
Right.
can't do it. You
Right.
can't do that. You can't do day in, day out. You are going to,
Right.
you're going to feel the crunch of it, your shoulders. And that's why guys of today, they crap out. The shoulders are gone, elbows are gone, knees are gone,
Right.
and it's like, wow, I learned. I said, okay, the weight nights, the weight days are gone for me. I'm 73,
Right.
but I want to still work out, and I want to look good. So if you go to my Instagram page, you can see. I mean,
yeah, Bill, you look crazy.
For you, matter of fact, starting with you working there, you kind of changed the way how you're going to work out. You weren't going to take away the old school, but you really hammered it in with doing more of the volume and not going just, you got to moving back and forth, and forth.
Thank you.
Sit there 10 minutes and watch it. Your phone.
Yeah.
No, it's a waste of time. If you have to work those muscles, you don't want them to recover for each set until about 40%. You got to keep going, and you want to get muscular endurance.
Right.
Endurance. That's these guys don't have muscular endurance, and that's what you were showing me. And the first time I was starting to do, I says, "Oh, what kind? How are you gonna go like this?" But now, I train all my clients like that, and
Bill.
me, and it works.
Thank you, Bill.
We talked about that.
Yeah.
We discussed that. I just wanted to bring up one thing is that, Bill, when you were in Sweden in the 80s, how old were the power lifters compared to how old you were?
How old were they?
Yeah. Were they in their 20s? Were they in their 30s?
Yeah, they were in their 20s and 30s.
And you were how old? And you're 73 now, so figure.
In the 80s, I was only in my early 30s.
Okay.
Maybe 32.
And they were probably 10 years younger than you, right? At that point. And what's really interesting, Stu, is, and you say, wow, you look great. How do you do it? And a lot of the reason why Bill looks the way he does, and he doesn't look like a typical 73-year-old individual who might be frail, who may have poor posture and doesn't have a lot of muscle mass on their skeleton, is because of when he started and how he started.
Yeah.
And that's a huge thing.
Absolutely.
So, if you look at most 73-year-olds, you will basically find out that they don't have a background in bodybuilding.
Right.
They also don't have self-awareness of their body, and they don't train. So, it's those things that I think lead you to where you, or lead you to the point where you can be where you are now as a strong 73-year-old, someone who's vivacious, has a lot of energy. It's a lot of the reason is because of when you started training and how you train.
Yeah.
And I can tell you today at 73, I feel like I'm training in the 20s and 30s. Really, serious. That's how I feel.
Yep.
A lot of the younger guys, Bill, we can't keep up with you. And I love it, man.
Yeah.
Now, the older guys, the younger guys, though, what kind of training have they done, right? So if you kind of matched against what their training was compared to what your training was, your foundation was so strong that it basically gave you, it gave you kind of a jumping off point to get to this point now, which is 53 years later, right? Those guys may not train that way, and that's why they probably can't keep up.
And that's why we call it longevity.
Right.
And, I remember I have 10 grandkids.
That's great. That's great.
I got to keep up with those guys. If you go to you see my Instagram, you can see my kids, my grandkids. I was in Utah last year to see my granddaughter. She lives there now for a while. And so they took me up to the mountains, and they said, "Grandpa, you think you're going to climb up that mountain?" I said, Go on. I'm right behind you." You know what? At the end of the walk, I was up 10,000 feet.
Right.
That's great.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
That's great.
Dave, saying, talking a little bit about that, I think what's really important is that, what you're saying, it's you really want to, people that tend to cultivate this from an early age,
Sure.
it just builds a real tremendous foundation. For those of you that don't start early, don't think like you can't gain anything from it either, because bodybuilding is one of those things. Training, and when I say bodybuilding, it's gotten such a bad rap in terms of when you use that word. But every single person that's going into a lot of those gyms, that are taking a lot of those yoga classes, or trying to take those classes in order to alter their body. You are bodybuilding in essence. You're trying to change. You're trying to alter that body to give you something a little bit more, to make you look a little bit different. Well, that's the definition of our sport. That's what it really is. If you understand that you didn't have to be 12, you don't have to be 14. The most important thing is getting some real good information, starting to understand a little bit about progressive resistance, how it can truly help you, and that's for any sport. Tennis, baseball, boxing, bodybuilding, swimming, everything. John Park was on here 2 weeks ago. John is a former, Mr. South America, South African champion. He was in the Olympics. He's trained some great elite athletes in this country, and you have to be able to understand that his dad was Reg Park. The foundation of that, understanding it, getting into it, and he didn't pursue it consistently as a competitive athlete, but it has been a part of his life all of his life. And these are the things that really make you strong, because that progressive resistance is crucial to incorporate. It's crucial. I was saying before, movements that are done that are calisthenic based, I'm not knocking them, but understand the way how the body works. We want to educate people. If you start to do a calisthenics program, you start to do something that's a body weight program, you will most likely, if you're doing it correctly, you're going to lose a little weight. So you get better at doing what you're doing.
Sure.
But you're working again now with less load overall. Your ability to increase your strength as you're going to get older, and you don't need to be the strongest man in the world or strongest woman. But the idea is, if you can increase that strength through slight increments in progression in terms of loads, you're going to be better off for it in the long run. Because as you get older, the body will start to decline. We haven't fully been able to stop aging yet, right? So what do we do in order to halt that, to slow that process down? Progressive resistance, increasing that bone density, stimulating those muscles, develop those neuromuscular patterns. This is the thing that we want to do. And incorporate into any regimen, any program, any sport discipline that you're doing.
You've probably seen a lot of older guys. Oh, I'm too old to work out.
Sure.
I'm too old. It's not too late. It's never too late.
Ever.
And I always tell people the body is like a car, and it really is. Check this out. A car, tires, right? If they're flat, what happens? The car can't move, right?
Right.
Those are your legs.
Right.
And guess what? If you got a Corvette, you got to put high test, in it, in the car. You can't get regular. So you got to get high test food if you want to have power, and the engine, it's the heart. If you don't, it's the heart and soul of the car. If that breaks down and gone, you're dead.
Right.
So these things you have to do. You got to look at your car, look at your body like you're a car. Hey, and you maintain your car, right?
Right.
So why don't you maintain your car?
Right.
People make more stuff about their car, their dogs, and working out. What about yourself? If you're dead, what is dog going to do when you're dead?
Right.
But it's all true. It's really not, hard to, grip this, but looking at the body as a car.
Right.
You guys are looking right now, go out to your car and turn it on. Dead battery, right?
Yeah.
Something wrong with the body, right?
Yeah.
Oh man, and it's smoking, man. It's breaking up there, man. Bad stuff in there, man.
Yeah. But real quick, I'm sorry, but let me just ask you real quick, Bill. And David, I would like your input on this as well. In order to just, to just shift up gears just a little bit, talking about chest, and we wanted to hit arms. Bill, real quick, how would you sum up an ideal chest workout for a chest that's already complete? Meaning you have good upper pecs, you have good lower pecs, what would be what order of movements would you do in order to just go in and to smack it? How would you go about doing that?
Well, the flat bench, I really can't do it very good. So I do inclines. So basically, you got to do those inclines. Then I would do flies. I do cable flies, dumbbell flies. You got to do dips. Dips are, that is the one you really have to do. You want to get a chest, you have to do dips. And now remembering now, angles. You used to always talk about that.
Right. Bill and I always talk about angles. Yeah.
So when you do the dips, you got to lean forward. That puts the stress on the chest. So if you go straight up, now you're working just more like the triceps.
Yeah.
So now when you go over, you get in your chest, your shoulders, compound exercises. People don't understand what's a compound exercise. It's one that where more than one muscle is working on that one exercise.
Right.
Like say compound, if you're not doing compounds, if you're doing curls, but just with dumbbells, that's not a compound exercise.
Right.
But now you did pull-ups. Now that's a compound.
Right.
It's getting your rear delts and your biceps. You got to get that concept of what to do.
Right.
I gotta sit there, and do this, and this is what you got to do. You got to have a program.
Right.
Basically, it's a program.
Bill, you just hit on it. Programming. I always say workouts don't work. Programs work. Because a program keeps you in a regimen that at a certain point in time, you can then start to manipulate it. But when you're so many people go in and they wing their workouts, or I'm changing this today, I'm changing that, I need variety. You can't get strong if there's too much variety, because you never get really good at anything you're doing. You're changing so much that you can't develop the neuromuscular patterns.
Yeah, and you're not imposing those forces on a particular muscle. So if you're constantly changing, variety is great.
Right.
But it's got to be done through a cycle.
Correct.
It can't be done every single time.
Yeah.
I think the question. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead, Dave. You go ahead.
I was going to say, I had a question, Bill. So if you're doing those types of chest exercises, are you taking a break between them? Because you're doing high volume. So let's say you're doing 20 reps. Are you using it as almost a sort of, I hate to say it, but like a high intensity interval training where you're moving from one to the next without much rest?
Well, first what I'll do, like I'm going to do inclines. Then I'll go right over to the cables and do cables.
Right.
Boom, boom, boom. So I will do maybe 20 seconds, 25 seconds, and I start it all because it's not about the weight.
Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you're training in the beginning, you can start off with some heavier weight, but as you go down, you're going to have to knock out some down the weight. Now you're fatigued already. But that's the whole idea. You got to fatigue the muscles if they're going to blow up and grow.
Right.
They don't think 8 reps, 5 reps, 2 sets. That's not going to do it. Daggone thing, man.
Right. Yeah.
Only thing going to do is get hurt. And I watch.
Yeah. So it really is about the quality of the activity. And we talked about this before, Stu, too. Weight training, if done in a way where it is with less rest in between, a lot of the research shows that even though it's an anaerobic movement, right? So it's weights that you're imposing on the muscle. If you do it in a way where it is more of an aerobic type of activity, you actually stimulate the aerobic features of the muscle tissue.
Hitting on that, I'm going to just throw this over to Bill. And I want to just, again, say hi to Josh and thank you, and to Myrtle. I want to say, Bill, now talking about that, we spoke before about giant sets like 4 movements for one body part like back. But what Dave is talking about now is we have bicep and tricep. Now that's a superset because you have 2 antagonistic muscles, two opposing muscles that you're working, which really allows you to go back and forth truly with no rest. Giant sets, the muscle is going to fatigue a little bit more because you're doing the same muscle group and you're pounding it with 4 exercises. Bill, how would you smoke bis and tris? Man of Steel. Let me have it.
Well, okay. Say the Larry Scott curls.
Ooh.
Then go right over to the tricep extensions with the rope. Now there's 2 angles for the rope. First you go straight down, and then the other one first. But then you do that one, you do the curl, that one, and then I'll go up maybe to some barbell curls, and then get on the bench and close push-ups for the triceps. Now you're getting a little more the chest and the shoulders.
Right.
But by the time you do that whole thing, now you do it one, toom, 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 toom. In about 30 seconds, you got to go do it all over again.
Right. Right.
Muscular endurance.
Right.
Just to do endurance. These guys today don't have any muscular endurance because you're not going to get it from doing for 9, 10 reps or 8 reps. You're not going to get it.
And resting 3 minutes, 5 minutes in between sets.
Crazy, man. My workouts are no more than 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Right.
Any more than that, I'm going crazy. If I go on an hour, I just got to go. And I can go in the gym and I always gauge what I'm doing. I go into the gym and I see people and the guys are training when I walk in. And by the time I'm leaving, and they're still training.
Right.
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 I get better progress.
Right.
And it's about efficiency of movement, right?
Absolutely.
You're more efficient.
And time. And time, because we're living in a society now where people really don't have the right kind of time, or they're having an issue with managing their time and training, because the mentality is very different than an athlete. You know, I started at a very young age. So all of my life, a lot of my training has been based off of and work around a lot of my training. But most people aren't like that. So they're thinking of exercises on the back end. And when you put exercise on the back end and don't know how to incorporate it, it makes you not want to do the exercise, because every time you do it, it just doesn't feel right. You don't feel tired. That sweat is important. And if you back off on weight, move a little bit faster in between movements where you don't give yourself time to think about how hard that last set was, that you jump right into the next one, you realize that you're recovering as a result of going into that next movement. And you get this beautiful synergistic pump. You know, you become very euphoric. You know, you get into it, you break a light sweat. And again, not to annihilate yourself. So as you're getting that blood flow, and you leave the workout and you say to yourself, my God, that felt great. I want a little bit more of that. And then understanding through structuring of programs that, hey, maybe you don't do it the next day. You do it the day after that, or 2 days after that. That now you start to give yourself enough time to fully recover, to keep that attitude and that enthusiasm about going into the gym and training. Arnold would say, you know, it's like dangling a carrot in front of a horse. You know, you want to have that constant, like, if you're losing that drive to train, you may be training too much, or you may not be eating properly, which is about 85%, 90% of the population.
Right. Just don't have the energy to do it. And you bring up a really good point, which is that people say they don't have the time to do it. But I think a lot of that stems from the fact that many of these workouts are, you know, really lengthy.
Right.
Like they're asking you to be in there for a long time. You got to do a lot of things, you know, but you don't. You know, it is about efficiency of movement, and it's about not spending, you know, 2 hours doing this.
Well, guys,
that would turn off.
We're gonna be getting ready to wrap things up.
Okay.
So
one little thing that when you were talking about now about recovery. Now we're doing all these exercises. Boom, boom, boom. Little recovery. So you showed me that. You know. Okay, so I finished the orange right there. That one series. Okay. So I can do some abs. And that's your recovery.
Right.
You go back and do it again.
Sure. And just to leave you with this, and we talked about this too, right? We talked about lactic acid. We've talked about, you know, these byproducts that build up in the muscle. Right. But the fact is that if you actively recover, like Bill is saying, if you're doing something that is not, like you said, annihilating the muscle during that recovery period, it could be abs, it could be, you know, whatever, whatever you're doing, you are flushing that system.
Correct.
And we know from research that lactic acid takes about 40 minutes to leave the bloodstream after a max exercise, after, you know, peak exercise.
Right.
That's if you didn't do anything. But if you actively recover it, it leaves the body or leaves the bloodstream a lot faster.
Absolutely. Can't stress enough how important it is to come in and to train, push the body at times, don't kill it, but be consistent with how you incorporate that into a program. Can't stress it enough. It
can take you a long time. You can, all those guys that are doing 2 or 3 hours of workouts, they may be doing the same thing that you're doing, the same exercises. Why are they taking 2 hours? Because they're diddling in around. We're doing straight through. So the same thing. They're doing the same thing, but we're faster.
Right.
You go faster.
Right.
That's you're really doing it. You're going to get something out of it.
I want to say another thing on that is, again, it's just developing a purpose. You know, what makes an athlete or anybody, somebody that's, financial district guy, stockbroker, someone in the fashion industry that's thriving, doing it, they're in there and in those positions because they have a certain drive, a love, a passion, a purpose.
Yeah.
If you understand, you don't need to love exercise and weight training, but if you understand what it will yield, if you incorporate it properly, you will, the time that you put into it, 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, it's going to give you what it is you want because you come to the table with a purpose. You come with a plan. You come with an idea, something I want to try to achieve from it. I think that's something also very important to understand because, Bill Grant would have been Bill Grant whether or not he went to LA or he stayed in Jersey. He was training with a purpose. Bill and I always joke about it. Training for us was a need. It wasn't a want.
Right, but
you can want anything.
I had to work out.
But training was a need.
But it's a rarity, right? A lot of people don't feel that way, right? So a lot of people look at training or look at working out as, oh God, this is so boring. Why do I have to do this? And it's not really doing anything for me. But the fact is, I'm looking at two legends here in bodybuilding. Yes, I had my stint and it was very short, but the fact is when you guys trained in the gym, you were training hard, you were training intense, you were reading magazines, you were doing all this. But right now, you're doing this for your health.
I train just like I did when I was Gold's Gym back in the 70s. I'm serious.
Right, but you're doing it for health.
It's still
your purpose is different.
Same zest for working out. Right now at 73. Like now, the gyms are kind of they're closed, but I go to run down to a personal train place down about half an hour. I'll go. I don't care. I got to work out. It's the guy work together with the creatine cocktail. So he has it's down there. So I go down there and I got to work out. I got my bands. I can't understand people sitting down. I did a band thing for legs one time. And, I told everybody before they get out, it says, oh, there's no excuses because the gyms are closed. Your house isn't closed.
Right. Well, look, people have different
bands, you got to work out.
Right. But different things drive different people. So, but what you're saying is really important. And the purpose now is better health.
Right.
That's what the purpose is.
Right.
At this stage in my life, in my 50s, and Bill, it's about health. So if you, like you said, you put in 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever, every little bit is going to add to a healthier lifestyle.
Training, bodybuilding back in the 50s. And I am definitely a student of the sport. I started training with guys like George Payne, Harold Poole, Leon Brown. Now, Bill Grant knows those people firsthand as well. And these were my friends and my training partners because back then, there weren't really any trainers. There were no trainers when I started training. You trained with these guys if they liked you. and I was very fortunate that Chris Dickerson and these guys, they liked me. So I learned a lot. It was about health, man. Yeah, it was not what most people think bodybuilding is today. Bodybuilding started off, it was about health, getting out, being able to do things, things, acrobatic moves, flexibility. Guys were doing, it was a bridge between, doing exercises on the rings, parallel bars, lifting weights, weight lifting. Because back then they were doing a lot of Harold. When he competed, you had to weight lift and then compete in the bodybuilding competitions. Right. A lot of people don't really know that. To compete in bodybuilding competitions, the bodybuilding competitions came after the weightlifting. You had to do a weightlifting competition first. And then the bodybuilding competition, you had to go and do the bodybuilding afterwards.
Exactly.
A
parting shot,
Yeah.
That old saying, if you don't move it, you got to lose it.
Right,
you got to lose it. If you don't lose it, if you don't use it, you lose it. It's like a car, again, right to a car. If a car sits, say a month, 3 months, what's going to happen when it's going to be rusty and it won't turn over. And that's what the body is. It's meant to move.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Correct. That's why you see older people, they're frail, weak, because they don't do anything with the muscle. So it says, okay, well, I don't need it, so I'll just shrink away.
Right.
Yes, that's exactly right. Yeah.
and
Exactly.
and to move aggressively according to your physical situation. That's something also important to that I want to get out, because what might be aggressive to somebody that is having physical issues may be just standing up out of a chair.
That's right.
That can be aggressively physical, right? But if you are somebody that is physically sound and you are only doing things that are passive, you're training your mind and your body only one way. And this mind and this body it's an amazing, miraculous machine. And you and you have to be able to tap in and accentuate and activate all of those aspects of this body and this mind and the soul.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
And the angles, you really stress that at your gym. You got to go, it's angles, three angles, 3 or 4 angles. You have to train it that way. You can't just do it once, but sometimes like, all right, let's say shoulders. Okay, now you're trying to get a little bit more power and strength. So you do, 10 sets of 10 reps with the press. Okay, but that's all you're going to do. You don't do the rear delts or anything else, but again, everything else, forget it from the, for the back. But still, that's when now people at 10 sets, 10 reps, and
10 tens.
And it works. It works. People
10
think
tens. Hardcore.
It's only one. It's one exercise.
I used to do it all the time. I did all the time for years.
It's unbelievable. Guys don't understand that part.
And got massive. It's one of the best training systems ever. 10 tens, I love it. I love 10 tens.
Right, but it's the physical effort to get there, right?
Yeah.
So
that was Vince.
You start slow and you build to that point. But
it's great, man. It's just for me, basically, I can already tell you, me being physically fit saved my life. You probably don't know, Dave, what happened to me. I almost died about 5 years ago. Stewie knew. I had to take 6 inches of my colon out. And the doctor told me, he says, most guys at your age, 50% of them don't come through.
They don't make the surgery.
The guy told me, he says, well, he knew me, this doctor, because he worked out and he saw me in the magazine. He said, don't worry, I'll take care of you.
Okay.
Man, wow. I mean, I couldn't believe it, man. 6 inches. And I went down to 140 pounds. Wow. And everybody in the gym was saying, oh, Grant's not going to make it. He's not going to make it. So I come in getting a little better and better. And this is, you saw the Terminator, right? What did he say? I'll be back.
Right.
People still can't believe how I did this. And no, you were like almost dead. I was. The guy said the doctor said it was about 7 hours from dying. And it was scary. But you know what? But that now changed my diet. Really, you know what? Almost now I don't eat meat anymore, Stewie.
Yeah.
Salmon.
Yeah.
Vegetable.
Understanding how to adapt as we change, and we do that periodically. It has nothing to do with age, really. Right. It has to do with understanding your body. Bodybuilders are some of the smartest people at looking at what it is they're trying to create, and then manipulate their system within the time frame that they're giving themselves the opportunity to make that change. You want to be, and once you develop that skill, the skill of paying attention, and that's basically what I'm talking about. If you can pay attention to your body, you can look throughout the course of your training years. Bill just talking about volume, how he's been able to maintain mobility by not lifting super heavy, changing things up a little bit here and there, and that gives him the longevity he wants. It's the same thing with the nutrition. Looking for certain things, not knocking other things. Sometimes something sounds wrong. I told someone, I was lecturing one day at LIU, and I said, somebody's passing out, and you see a bottle of soda, and you see a bottle of water. Who's going to give them the water? Everybody raised their hand. Everybody said, the water. But I'm like, if that person is passing out, the last thing that person really needs is water. Chances are they're going to want that soda. They're going to want to sip a little bit of that sugar, and that's going to help to bring them back. Now, if you look at the soda, we say, hey, who's drinking soda today? Soda's not good for you, right? We don't want to drink that. But under the circumstance, that soda gives us more bang for our buck than that water. And if you don't understand to look at all things, come to the table with an open mind, If your mind is shut down, if you're closed, it's going to limit how you can maneuver through everything. You need to come with an open mind, educate yourself as well as you can. And what that means is, you hear a lot of things out here that sound good. Study it. Don't just reading it reading and regurgitating doesn't do anything. It all sounds good. Study it.
That happened to me one time in Las Vegas. Jerry was there. I was passing out, and he gave me Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
I came right back up again.
Yeah.
So, soda or water at this point? Oh no, he needs water. No. He needs sugar.
Right. A little bit of sugar. Right. Yeah.
Stu, you make a good point. You got to become a student of it in order to really understand.
Absolutely.
The intricacies, the kind of details of it. You always have to read between the lines too, because a lot of what you read out there is promotion.
Right.
A lot of what you read out there is not based. Those claims are not based on fact.
Right.
So you really need to, if you have questions, it's speaking to experts like you guys that are going to, not only because of your experience, will give people education that they wouldn't have ordinarily, but also you guys have been students of it. So you kind of know that it works or it doesn't work, and that it's beneficial or it isn't.
Well, I only have 40 years in this field. Bill Grant's got me out. Bill Grant's got me out. I've only got 40 years.
There's always going to be somebody with more experience, and that's the person you're going to look at.
Wow.
I'll tell you a funny story. Bill, I don't know if you remember this, Bill. One day I walked into the gym, and Bill's in my gym, and I went up to him, and this is just so you can understand what I mean. And I go to Bill and I said, "Hey, Bill, show me a wrist curl." You remember what Bill looked at me? Bill goes, "Stewie, look at your arms. You know how to do a wrist curl. You don't need to." And it's not about me knowing how to do a wrist curl. It's about me seeing how Bill Grant does that wrist curl, because we all move unique. And I get the opportunity to see a legend moving in a particular way, and you start to break down and say, "Oh, he's shifting his weight like this on his forearm, or he's not. He's resting all on the wrist. How high is he bringing the arm? Is he squeezing the bar?" The more time I think you spend in your discipline, you start to look at the intricate parts of it. The finer nuances of it, and you start to establish and understand the highs and the lows. It doesn't always work, so that doesn't mean to throw it in the garbage. Why is it not working? Right. Figure it out. Yeah.
It's great, man.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, guys. Hey, it was incredible.
This is great.
Remember,
we will
hey,
do
Doug,
this again.
I want to say hi to Doug Ward. Doug Ward.
if they want to see some pictures and stuff of me, they're going to Instagram, billgrant.life. If you want to check out my page.
Billgrant.life on Instagram. Okay.
All right.
You'll see some pictures from the old days and everything. And there's some pictures in Iron and Silk there too.
Of course. Bill is one of our star trainers. So when we reopen, and before actually we reopen, you'll be able to work with Bill online.
Oh, that's great. So let's thank our sponsors. We'll take a moment to thank Stu Burton's Iron and Silk Fitness and the Wellness Roundtable.
Thank you, Dave.
And we'll be back next week.
Awesome.
We'll be back.
Thank you, Bill. Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, everybody.
Bill, thank you so much for your time today. It was a pleasure.
So from New York City, Bill Grant. We'll see you next
Wild Bill.
Wild Bill. Exactly.
Boom, boom, boom.
All right, guys. Take care.
Okay. Take care of yourself, Bill. Stu, we'll be talking soon.
Talk soon. All right.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.